the man, the myth, the legend, the beard. Jumbo Joe Thornton out of nowhere, although we've been waiting for this for a while now, has officially hung up his skates in a playing role. We'll go down memory lane about all his accolades and what he's to this organization right now on Teal Town Live. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday, October 28th, 2023 will go down as a day in infamy as Jumbo Joe Thornton officially retires from the NHL. Welcome to Teal Town Live. If you want to be part of the show, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans all over the world in Sharks territory. You can hit us up on the YouTube page or the app right now in our live chat. And if you want to follow us on the social, please do so on the social media handles below. And, of course, find everything at tealtownusa.com. Of course, if you want to support the pod, you can also do that on Venmo or the Super Chat at tealtownusa. With that said, good afternoon, Mr. Eric Landy and Clippy.
Yeah, I mean, right now I've got to pull out all the stops to be happy because I was told that Landy, you seem a little sad on your broadcast. So, Clippy, you're here to help.
Well, he's putting a little smile, or they are putting a smile on their face. That's for sure. It's not like we didn't see this coming. But it is one to officially call it a career. Joe Thornton, with the, drafted the same year as Patrick Marleau, first overall in 1997, starts with Boston, then, after
just a dramatic trade to come to the San Jose Sharks.
Man, what a night that was.
What a night that was against Dallas. I mean, I think we all remember, the interruption in the game.
Yeah.
When Drew comes on and says, Jumbo's a Shark, and he said this is immediately going to transform the franchise. And I think little did we know how much those words rang true. Truly an honor to watch the Thornton era Sharks and, a player who, look, I know we're very sour right now with where the team is, but we cannot let that cloud just how special a career Jumbo had and just how good that we had it for so long. You could pencil him in as your number one C for practically a decade.
Yeah.
And how often are you able to do that with players? I think you can only really count those number of players on one hand. So, I think, Eric, you're a little tongue-tied for words. I think sometimes I am too, with just how influential a career he's had.
Yeah.
With just how much his career will resonate with the fan base for generations, and he'll get his number put into the rafters, and I think that this now will start to begin those conversations of officially doing that. Yeah. And he'll come home a Shark, and he will be put up next to his best friend in the locker room, and arguably his compadre, his number two, his the guy that always rode shotgun with him.
Yeah.
And the way in which those players, it was like the iron fist and velvet glove, where Thornton was the power, the raw, and when he got upset, the emotion, the
angry Joe,
but even the love of the sport. And then you had, the soft as far as demeanor in Patrick Marleau, who was always business, who's always a cool customer, who always seemed like, he's the guy that kind of keeps it together while while the other players are having, their emotional fits, he's the rock, he's the anchor
Right.
emotionally for that group. So it was just a beautiful combination to see. And again, just really, really lucky to be able to witness a lot of great hockey with Joe Thornton. And
Yep.
no matter what his playoff record, shows, he was a special player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he took a team, multiple times to Western Conference Final. He took a team to a final and nearly outdueled, a Sidney Crosby who was in, peak Sidney Crosby, and Joe was, I wouldn't say like a shell of himself, but let's just say that was Joe, maybe in the dwindling of his prime, right? And so to do what they did, and to be so dominant for so long, was just special. I mean, he elevated a second line player, we thought at best, in Jonathan Chichu, to a first line winger, a Rocket Richard winner. I mean, for God's sake, he won a Hart Trophy in the year he was traded.
Yep.
There's not many in the league that have done that. And the accolades, speak for themselves as far as what he's done in the Olympics and in the World Juniors, and for Team Canada itself, and what he's doing for the Sharks now. Um, we thank you, Eric, for putting up the stats, and just got some real great overall points there. But first overall pick in 1997, holds 1,539 points, 12th most in the NHL, 1,109 assists, seventh most in NHL history, 1,714 regular season games, sixth most in NHL history, one first team All Star, uh, three-time second team All-Star, 10-time NHL All-Star appearances,
Yeah, bud. Yeah, bud.
a Hart Trophy and Art Ross Trophy. So the cabinet is full, and I think not only that, Eric, but I think what was very special in the way in which he did it.
Yeah.
He was always so inclusive of his teammates. Um, Always had time for fans. Um, Approachable kind of guy. Loved being in San Jose because we know how to respect our players. I mean, this is a city in which houses some Hall of Famers in other sports, and we know how to treat our players here in the Bay Area. So when you think about it, just the way in which he's ingrained himself locally in the community, how much he's done for the city of San Jose, how much he's meant to Sharks hockey. Um, I don't really care, what the Bostonites said. I think we got a genuine Hall of Famer, in my opinion, and I think he'll be the first. He'll either him or Patty will be the first to enter in the AHL, and not, in the Hall of Fame as a Shark, and majority playing their time as a Shark, because I think he was just that prolific, and to not be on the Century team was a snub,
Oh, big time.
and I think we all see that, and
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's also it's unfortunate because he couldn't rejuvenate his narrative on the big overall NHL media landscape because he played in San Jose, which is, I think, the shame of it all, because it's just he's part of the reason why San Jose's impact in the community and in youth ice hockey is as high as it is. You know what I mean? There'll
mhm.
be many, many years that Thornton jerseys will be in the tank. We'll see them for many years.
Yeah, it's a legacy that you mentioned with Patrick Marleau. I mean, the amount of times they've been forever linked and they've been close friends. You saw how emotional Jumbo was early in February Marlowe's retirement ceremony. We would have to think that there is something coming up with Jumbo. I mean, I think you set a precedence for Marlowe. Jumbo's got to be right there with you. I'll go back to that day, November 30th, 2005. The Sharks were in the midst of a 10-game winless streak. I think they were 0-8-2. They were in Dallas. I remember this game vividly because the Sharks were getting ready to face the puck off, and then they go over to Ron Wilson, and the officials say, you look like you're missing a few players. Randy and Drew were still trying to figure out what the heck was going on. They counted the players. They looked 3 players short. Then you see that Nico Dimitrakos and Jim Fahey come into the lineup. 15 minutes before then, they were chatting with Dan Rusanowski up in the press box in Dallas. I remember that, Wayne Primo, Brad Stewart, and Marco Sturm were in the lineup taking warm-ups. And then you hear Randy saying, the official scratches tonight, Wayne Primo, Marco Sturm, Brad Stewart, and Drew said, something's happening. And like you said, by the second intermission, the confirmation was coming down. And just think, Landy, if Twitter and Instagram and a lot of these social medias, yes, we had MySpace back in the day, but just think of how big this would have blown up on the social media for that. And
I mean, this was a blockbuster, as of the Blockbuster video rental place. You know what I mean? Like of that era. Meaning,
right.
It was a different age, and we got to get the unprecedented trade over the air at the time of the game, to actually sit there and listen and see it reverberate amongst the cast, the broadcast, and then seeing the way in which the team responded following Joe coming to the team.
Yeah.
It was just night and day. And knowing what we know now, I wonder, had the Sharks instead of flipped Sturm and put Dimitrakos in his place, how that would have, I wonder if that would have gotten it done and would have
I see what you're saying.
And had stacked the Sharks up to be even more dominant, right? Because I think at that time Dimitrakos was kind of on the, we're keeping him, and we've really got to focus on developing this kid. And I think in hindsight, we all look at Dimitrakos as one of those players who didn't live up to his potential.
Mm-hmm.
We saw flashes of it, and we saw him thrive at times, and then he would just go silent for for games on end. And had they kept the gritty Sturm there in that position, I wonder how that would have set up the Sharks' future down the road. But it's as interesting a question as, what if Jumbo would have swapped for Luongo the day before, in Florida, right? And the trade that could have been there. It was just so kind of serendipitous the way the Sharks fell into that trade, and the way in which it rejuvenated the franchise.
Big time.
And I think the franchise had gained respect because of what Patty had done and how far he had taken the team. But I think there was always this underlying expectation that the Sharks just didn't have enough. And then as soon as Joe was added, it was, okay, how can they surround him the best? What is, what is the way in which he's going to propel this team to the next level? And they were so close.
Oh, boy.
In 2010, I still feel that the sweep was not indicative of the way in which the team was playing. They just did not have an answer for Buffuglen.
Oh, God. Buffuglen, Keith, Seabrook, Kane, Taves, etc. there. Then, of course, the 2011 when where they almost gets reverse swept, but he had that series-winning goal in overtime with the jumbo slide in L.A., feeding Patrick Marleau in 2010 for that overtime game winner.
Yeah, the Detroit battles. I mean, the game sevens against Detroit, and
that
like it's. I mean, you know what? I think what's very understated here, Eric. I think that being reverse swept by the Kings, that was such a kick in the balls for us
yeah,
as a franchise, 2014-15.
13-14.
And thank you, 13-14. And that could have broken the franchise and could have put it in a tailspin. But what ends up happening is he ends up leading the team all the way back to a Stanley Cup final and gets them one game to winning it.
Two.
And well, no, I mean one game to getting a game seven, and then of
Oh,
course,
gotcha. My bad, my
and
bad.
but how far they got and how much he overcame earlier in his career, and just the amount of pressures he did. I mean, I think at times us as a fan base were too hard on him, but I just it shows the kind of character, the kind of quality of a player he is, the way in which he took so many misfit type players under his wing, and he made like TJ Gagliardi look like a first line winger. You know what I mean? He made James Shepard.
Nils
He
Ekman.
he Nils Ekman. I mean, it continually. I mean, Shepard and fostered a young Hurdle. I mean, Hurdle could not have gotten his 4 goal game without Jumbo there.
Right.
And not only that, but when the heat is placed on this little kid who's just done an amazing feat, and now you got fucking Hall of Famers pissing all over that, Jumbo steps up. And not only that, he puts the deflection on him, and he makes an inane comment so that he will take the heat for a player. And we all know the comment, and we all know the gif, and it was beautiful. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful moment, and it was a way in which you really saw this player gave everything for that crest on the front, and
Yeah.
that player looked at his teammates as his family, and has so much love for this community, a place in which he was not born. We have love for this community because we're from here, but to be a transplant, to be a 22-year-old kid or 23-year-old kid getting traded here, and to put down his roots here, to come back here, to build what he's built here, it's just I don't think that there's anything more you could have asked for from him. And anybody who claims that he needed to do more, or needed to be harder, or lacked competitive edge or whatever, are just completely full of shit. Sometimes the puck goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. And this game is random, and an injury here, a puck placed there, and he's a cup winner. He could be a multiple cup winner.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it. We've had this conversation in our group chat, in Discord, among other places, as to what year was the year. You could look at 06, where the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds are the ones left going into round 2. You can look at 2009, where they were the President's Trophy winner. You look in 2010 and 11, where they bulked up with Danny Heatley in there. You could look at 2016, where everything seemed like it was going their way until they ran into the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then you can even look at 2019, where that was probably the most talented group
Sharks
and franchise ever.
Yep, ever. It was Golden State Warriors-esque.
Yeah. So to bring everybody up to speed, if you haven't heard, in the last hour or so, Jumbo Joe Thornton made an announcement via the Sharks Twitter that he's officially retired. If you haven't seen it, we'll play it for you right now.
Hey, judging how many people keep asking me, I guess I have to tell you, I'm officially retiring from the NHL. Thought you guys would have figured it out sooner, but you kept asking. So here I am, retiring. I have so much love for the game of hockey and for countless number of people that helped this kid's dream become a reality. And if you're looking for me, you know where to find me. I'll be at the rink. Peace and love.
I mean, he does it in such the typical Joe Thornton way. I mean, shirtless, of course, but with all the good vibes, just rubbing off. I mean, both of us are smiling, even though the Sharks are 0-7-1, and we were hoping like Jumbo, if you're watching, you ready to make that comeback for one more year?
Oh, please, no. You know what, dude? Just enjoy retirement
Yeah.
and just, honestly, I think that that's a great segue, Eric, into a few thoughts here at the beginning of the season, and just what we've seen, from the team now, because, Joe is officially retired, and then I think the next press announcement that's probably going to happen is Joe's added to the San Jose Sharks staff as development coach XYZ. And then from there, it will be, Joe Thornton, banner night is going to be this night, and, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
So the next chapter of his career has already kind of been put forth into motion. He's in a environment where he's with his longtime cohort, Patrick Marleau, and also with another familiar face in Greersy, who was his, one of his third line, checkers for him, and a guy who he went to battle with numerous times. So an environment. Oh, Danny Boyle. I mean, Danny Boyle is around. Right? So there is no shortage of familiar faces that are helping foster the next generation. The question I have, and I think the question that I've posed often in the chat is, we know the character in which the players are, and we know the caliber of these players. Is it concerning that there's not a cup winner overall leading the staff, like somebody, have Gruzy be the general manager, but have a senior vice president of hockey operations who might have won a cup at one time, like a Brian Burke or somebody in the community which can help shepherd these players, because these players have been to this cup final. They know what it takes to get there, but to have actually won it and to actually have architected a team to getting there and knowing what the mix is, I wonder if that's the next piece in which Hasso needs to address. And so that's just a question that I've had posed in our chats. That's a question in which I look at the team right now, and I feel as if there still needs to be an overall philosophy, organizationally wise. I think Greer is doing a good job in amassing the types of players that you want to have, and doing some yeoman's work trying to restock the cupboard. But I do have some question marks. Timmy Burke has been in this industry a long time and has done well. I mean, hit some home runs and did intel on Jumbo and Patty when the Sharks drafted them. But I wonder if the game has changed too much to a point in which he can't adapt to the new style, of which we're seeing, a massive creativity, a glut of good skating, and that's one area in which the Sharks have always said, we can train up kids to skate. Skating is not a problem. We can teach that. Maybe it's something that the team needs to start prioritizing as an organizational, ask for at the draft table, instead of just trying to rely upon their staff to train skaters. Look, Patrick Marleau was one of the most efficient skaters, in the league. I think he's a great tutor. Jumbo got to A to B. I don't know if it was the prettiest thing in the world, but he did it. But you look at the types of players in which are excelling in this league right now, a Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, or you look down the list of even in the East, you look at the teams that are excelling right now. It's a lot of skill type play. It's less about physicality and more about picking the spots in which to be physical. It's very selective hitting, and I wonder if the organization needs to have a more unified adopted strategy, because I think they've identified the types of players that they want. But as I'm watching this season unfold, I'm still not seeing a general direction as far as a style of play. It still seems like a lot of scattered play to me. It does not seem cohesive. It still seems like are players that are not necessarily conforming to the system. And then not to mention where the Sharks are at insofar as the talent acquisition cycle. I think that does a lot too.
A lot to break down there. um, is there an evolution in the game? Yes, absolutely there is. I think we've seen that. I think all the way back to where fighting has slowly gone away, and you've definitely had more finesse play, but also being smart as well. In a way, Jumbo was kind of like that a bit. He could fight if he wanted to, and I look at Zippy's comment here. My favorite Jumbo highlight was seeing him drop the gloves, the face-off. I think it. I don't know if it was Corey Perry, but I thought it was Getzlaff.
Getzlaff. No,
Game
it was
six.
it was game six. And I think I remember even Randy and Drew were commenting on it that or no, maybe it wasn't Randy and Drew because it was the playoffs, but well, no, it was in the quarters, so it might have been. Either I remember the broadcast remarking that each of the head coaches must be biting their fingernails right now, not wanting their superstar center to hit the ice. But I remember him going up against Jamie Benn. I mean, pestering Sid Crosby,
Steve Ott.
Steve Ott.
That picture of Steve Ott getting that whole thing with him, that was great. But then he also has that finesse. That behind the back pass from to Patrick Marleau. I think it was actually Dallas too, for that matter. That was insane. So it was that combination, and I think you need to have bits and pieces of that in today's NHL. So,
yeah. What about his little antics with the Sedins?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's something on your nose. Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's just give him a little stinky glove.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there have been plenty of memories. And hey, if you aren't watching us now, leave us a comment down below your favorite Joe Thornton memory. Obviously, I also remember, I think it was that 2011 series against LA where he's blowing kisses to Sharks fans after he gets a goal. That's something too. It's just the ESPN piece with him and Bernsey naked in his looking over the Silicon Valley with the beard extensions,
with the hockey stick. Yeah, exactly.
But there have been certainly special memories, and for Jumbo, if you're watching, I'll steal this from Brody. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for saving the franchise in a way. We don't know where this team would have been if they went downhill in that first part of November of 2005. What was it? Zippy, you mentioned it. Didn't Joe hit the crossbar in his first shift as a Shark? Yeah, in Buffalo, 2 nights after the trade. His first shift, and then he went on like a 5-6 game streak where he had 2 assists a game, and onward to that Art Ross trophy. So,
yeah, no, I mean, and again, my message is thank you for being such a wonderful part of our community. Thank you for making San Jose your adopted home. For giving everything that you had to this team and to the organization. And, we appreciate you, and, you are beloved as much as the Joes and Steves and Jerrys and
Oh yeah.
Tims and of Bay Area sports.
Yep.
You're that special to us, and you always will have a home here, and this is a area in which you'll never probably have to buy a drink out in public again, if you don't
Especially in
want
San
to.
Jose. Yeah, exactly. So
Uh,
I think that kind of sums it up, my friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I mean, it's I know we're mired in what we are right now, but it's a little bright spot in the season, especially to remember a great player, um, and to honor a great player,
Yeah.
and then also that his legacy is now part, of his future insofar as being a part of the team, shaping it for the next generation, and hoping we can see some development and growth in the team, and that his fingerprints, helping the team get out of the funk it's in, will be all over it. So that's my hope for him and for his future, and I hope he has a blessed life. All the best to the family. He's got a beautiful family, and awesome, awesome person. So again, I hope for the best for him, and from all of us, we really appreciate all of the great memories.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, Jumbo. We love you, man. In case you missed anything, you want to watch this again, check us out on Teal Town USA or wherever you get your podcasts. Or, of course, you can smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell for when breaking news like this comes on. So, Landy, thanks for jumping on. I know this is kind of last minute, but to reiterate once again, news we kind of been expecting for a bit. Joe Thornton has officially announced his retirement from the NHL. We will officially find out some sort of the official capacity that Jumbo, let's be honest, has kind of already been for over a year now, fairly soon, and hopefully we'll be hearing a info on retirement ceremony for one of, if not the greatest Shark of all time. So we can have a debate about that another time. But for now, Jumbo, thanks, bud. Appreciate it, bud. Yeah, for the boys, bud. Yeah,
For the
bud.
boys, always for the boys.
Thanks for watching, and all the best. And we'll see you on Sunday following Sharks and Caps and for the Technologists. Have a great one.